Hi, welcome to the Uplift with Vision. I'm so glad you're here today. We're going to have a wonderful talk. I'm reading a great book I want to share with you, but first let's pray in. I'm going to put my notes down. Let's do this. I know that God is one. I know that there is one energy, one divine intelligence that spreads itself through and as everything. I know that the universe is populated with this divine idea. This one makes itself known as the many. It is individualized, it's unique, and it is creating all the time and absorbing creations. It is dynamic. It is developing, expressing, expanding always. And we know of this one, this divine intelligence, the beloved, as closer to us than our breath, than our beating heart, and also the energy that drives the entire universe. We give great thanks for this. We know we are part of this wonderful, whole, complete, precious life of spirit. And we just revel in that as it's so wonderful. And so I give great thanks for this. I give great thanks for this time we spend together, knowing it is all God. It is all good, and so it is. So hi, how you doing? I'm so glad to get back together with you on this wonderful Wednesday. I'm calling today White Bird Wednesday, and you'll figure out why when I start getting into the book that I am currently reading. It's a wonderful book. It's called, I just want to make sure I get it right, The Gentle Art of Blessing by Pierre Pradervand. 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 And in that book, he talks about a lot of wonderful things. He talks about blessing everything, that we must bless everything and curse nothing. And we are taught this over and over again by saints and sages and mystics and great teachers across the millennium, but we forget it. And we have to remember it again. We have to be reminded again. And so this book, this Gentle Art of Blessing, is a gentle reminder for us that we must spend our mental energy in blessing and not cursing. And in the book, in the first couple of chapters, I can't remember which one it is now, but he talks about a story about how each of us have these two walls, a wall with nests for white birds and a wall of nests with black birds. And so you can figure the white birds are the blessing birds and the black birds are the cursing birds. And the way these walls are configured, white birds cannot fit into the blackbird nests, and the opposite is true. The blackbirds cannot fit into the white birds' nests. And the story that he tells is of these two men who were quote-unquote enemies. And the one gentleman just knew in his heart that his enemy was cursing him. And so he sent out a blackbird, a cursing bird, to his enemy, because he knew that that was what was happening to him, or he assumed that's what was happening to him. So he, to be proactive, I guess, sent out a black cursing bird to his enemy. But what happens is the blackbird flies to his enemy's walls, but finding no place to nest because his enemy never did send out a curse. So all of his enemy's blackbirds are sitting in their nests. So the blackbird that was sent out doesn't have a place to land. So what happens to the curse? It flies back to its original owner. And it discharges all of its venom, all of its toxin, all of its curse on the man who sent it out. So this is absolutely the law of karma, isn't it? I mean, this is exactly what we are taught over and over again. What we send out comes back to us. I just think it was a beautiful story. It's a beautiful illusion. And what we understand is the reverse is true as well. If we send out only white birds, and the one we're sending the white bird to also sends out white birds, then our white bird of blessing will find a place to roost in our neighbor's wall and will dispense blessing. But even if it doesn't find a place to nest, it returns to us. So what does it return to us? When it returns home, it returns as a blessing to us. So we can never send out a blessing, whether it is received by someone else or not. We can never send out a blessing without being blessed in return. Because you see, one of the things that the story says is, even if the bird finds a place to nest, white or black, even if the bird does find an empty nest, it never dispenses fully all of its cargo. And when it returns home, there's always residue that returns back to us. So if we're sending out curses, even if the cursed bird does find a nest in the blackbird's wall, it doesn't dispense all of the curse, all of the bad karma, but it returns to us with some residue left over, and we get that as well. So you can see based on that story that it is in our best interest to only send out blessings. And so this is what the book is about. It is about retraining our minds to only send blessings. Only send blessings. And so even if we have a wall of blackbirds, if they never leave the nest, then there is no room for anyone to curse us, right? There is no place for a curse to land in our lives. And it's a wonderful book, and I loved the analogy of that, the two walls and the white birds and the blackbirds. And I wanted to share with you something Ernest Holmes said. In the Science of Mind textbook, he says, "The mind which condemns understands not the truth of being, and the heart which would shut the door of its bosom to one who is mistaken strangles his own life, closing his eyes to a greater vision. The biggest life is the one that includes the most." And so that's what this book is about. The Gentle Art of Blessing. It's about blessing and cursing not. It's about only sending out blessings regardless of what we have been receiving in life. And the book is fabulous. It talks about the history of blessings. It talks about how blessings are common to every world religion. Every world's religion has this idea that blessings flow from the Creator, right? The creative source, whether it's Confucius or whether it's in Buddhism or Hinduism or Judaism or Islam or Christianity. We all have this idea that blessings flow from the Creator, whatever you think of as a creator, universal intelligence, just pure energy, whatever it is. However you want to think of that individualized creative source, it always blesses its own creations, and we are that, and all life is that. So there's a bit in the book about the history of blessings. He also goes on to talk about blessing and cursing, because there's a lot of that in the Old Testament. But if you remember, the Old Testament has to do with the law, right? The Old Testament is all about the law, the New Testament is all about the love. So you can understand how the Old Testament is about blessing and cursing. It is about this, what we send out comes back to us. And I have a few here, like Deuteronomy. It says, "I call heaven and earth to witness against you today," right? "I have set before you today life and death, a blessing and a curse. Therefore choose life, that you and your offspring may live." I mean, that's amazing, right? It makes its way into the New Testament as well. Romans, "Bless those who persecute you. Bless and do not curse them." See, we've moved into the New Testament that is all about love and forgiveness. So bless and do not curse them. Those who persecute us, do not curse them. Well, we want to, don't we? Particularly those who have done wrong. It's only fair. We want to get back, or we want justice, right? So it's like, no, we can't be good to people who are awful to us. But this is what we're called to do. This is what Jesus' ministry was about. This is what the New Testament is all about. This whole idea of bless and curse not. The two walls with the birds. We are called over and over and over again to this idea that what we send out, we get back. Right? An eye for an eye, and then eventually the whole world goes blind, right? We know this. We know we cannot return evil for evil. There's another quote. I have another quote in here. Romans, again, "Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good." Right? So persecution to persecution doesn't work. It is always about returning back to our source, returning back to our good, knowing the truth for ourselves, that we are good all the time. And the reason why, and he gets into it in the book as well, the reason why is because of spiritual law, right? Because of spiritual law, because the spiritual law of oneness, right? We know this in our concept, core concept 1. God is all there is. How can we curse someone else if there is no someone else? We are all part of this one life. So who are we cursing? We're cursing ourselves. It may look like another person. You might think it's another person. You may want it to be another person. But we are one. So this law of divine oneness states you can't curse someone else without cursing yourself, which goes back to the law of karma, the law of correspondence, right? Like to like. All of these laws, and we're going to talk about these laws in depth on Friday, so just put that on the back burner for now. But what he's saying in the book is, because these spiritual laws are just as true as physical laws, we cannot separate ourselves out from our curse, right? We become the recipients of our own word. We must, because there's only one of us. And what we send out, we must get back, because there's only one of us. And so his idea with this book, The Gentle Art of Blessing, is about unconditional love. And it takes this idea of unconditional love to its greatest understanding, you know. And it's a tough road, I have to tell you. I'm struggling with this right now. You know, there are some things going on in the world right now. You're like, how can I bless that? Right? How can I bless that? How can I be unconditionally loving to someone who's destroying the planet, or to someone who's, you know, who's being on purpose mean and hurtful to me? I get it. I struggle with it as well. But our path to unconditional love, this is what we have said yes to when we've said yes to the spiritual path. We have said yes to awakening to the magnificence in humanity. We have said yes to awakening to our oneness. We have said yes to transforming our lives, right? And awakening in others by our mere presence, awakening others to the truth of their own divinity. And we can only get there through unconditional love. And, you know, I was reading, again, going back to this book, someone who wrote to him and said, I can't do this. How can I bless someone who's so mean and horrid to me? He was referring to a coworker. And, you know, what the author said was, bless them in their perseverance to awaken you to your unconditional love. Bless them in their perseverance, their persistence in leading you to your highest and best good, to pointing to you where you can elevate yourself to that unconditional love. That's an amazing lesson that your quote-unquote enemy is teaching you. So this is what we're talking about with unconditional love. You know, and then what happens is you get to the point where, yeah, you do start blessing them. So you bless them in their perseverance. So you bless them in their bulldog-like ability to make us learn, right? To make us learn what unconditional love is like. And eventually, we get there so that we can bless them for all of their goodness. And what happens? What happens when that happens? We begin to see them as God sees them. We begin to see them as God sees them. And then there is no hurt, and then there is no persecution. Then there is no awful thing that they did to us. It is just ignorance. And in our unconditional love and seeing them as God sees them, unconditional love has no even reason to forgive, because it never condemns to begin with. It just allows all people to be on their individualized paths. And I think we need we need this teaching right now. We need this teaching of the gentle art of blessing right now, because we need to bless each other and curse not. There is so much derision going on and divisiveness going on Facebook. You know, we're getting all frustrated now. We're getting antsy and anxious about sheltering in place. It's starting to wear on us. We're getting grumpy. Have you felt the grump? Have you felt it in yourself, in others? Have you felt the anxiety, you know, kind of getting up like, when is this going to be over, you know? So this blessing and cursing not, I think it's so important right now, more important than ever before. We must do this for ourselves. We must do this for ourselves, to dig deep, to find that place, that reservoir of unconditional love, to look out at the world as God sees it, and to bless, continue blessing, and not with clenched fists. And in our anger, yeah, bless him, that SOB. I'm not talking about that kind of blessing. I'm talking about really laying down the sword and just breaking open our hearts and letting the blessings flow out. Just blessing everyone you meet. You know, it feels like this time has been imposed upon us, like we've been given a worldwide timeout. But this is so important. This work is so important, and we have the opportunity to do it right now. And we have the choice to do it right now, to heal whatever is inside of us, so that we can go forward and bless every creature, every person, every instance, every manifestation. Ernest Holmes says this, and I want to finish up with this. He said, again we read, whatever ye shall ask in my name, that I will do. This sounds simple at first, but it is another profound statement, like unto the first. Its significance lies in the phrase, in my name. In his name means in his nature, right? If our thought is as unsullied as the mind of God, we are recognizing our oneness with God. We cannot pray for other than good for all. In such prayer, we do not dwell in evil or adversity. The secret of spiritual power lies in a consciousness of one's union with the whole and the availability of good. God/good is accessible to all people. And that's how it is we can bless all. We can do this work. We can dig deep. We can find that reservoir of all good deep in our heart. And we can bless all regardless of conditions. Let's pray out. I give great thanks for this time spent together. I know it is all good. I know it is all God. And I know this all goodness permeates my very soul. It permeates my spirit. It permeates my body. In every cell, in every subatomic particle, in every part of me resonates to the truth of the goodness of God as me. And what I know is true for me, I know is true for all. We are that. We are the love of God. We are the joy of God. We are the good of God, expressing every moment of every day. I know this is truth. I let it be, and so it is. Amen. So again, that book, The Gentle Art of Blessing, if you want to Kindle it or buy it, through Amazon, The Gentle Art of Blessing, you can read it along with me. That's what I'm be reading for the next couple of days. It's an amazing book. It'll transform you, your surroundings, and your world. Come back and see me again tomorrow, Thursday, when we'll have another edition of the Uplift with Vision. From my heart to yours, Vision, we are one. We absolutely are. Bye-bye. See you tomorrow.